Man jötna árum borna, þá forðu mig fætta höfðu. Nýju manni heima, nýju íviður, mjöt við mæran fyrir mold neðan. Hljóðspið eiga allar kindir, meiri og minni mögu heimdallar. Völuspá is the poem that is preserved in the so-called Book of Kings, Codex Regius, that was written sometime in the 13th century. It is, without doubt, the most known and influential poem of the Eddas. Through the poem, you get an insight into the life of people 1,000 years ago, and not just their ideas or their religion, but their values. It's empathetic in a magical way. It is an essential part of the Icelandic society and the culture in Iceland, our history, which is preserved in the saga. And in Icelandic, it's so funny, we don't have the word history in the language. It's saga, but saga is also saga. Probably no person in Iceland that has more experience with the Icelandic language than me. The Icelandic language is facing challenges from many different directions. It can be hard for people who want to learn Icelandic to have an opportunity to learn it. It's not tempting. Like, do you want to learn a complicated language in a really boring way and we will charge you a lot for it? No, I don't think so. We need to make it more accessible. And then we have to realize, because it's always like Iceland is a book nation. We have more writers per capita than any other, blah, 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 blah. Icelandic novels are being read all around the world. Yeah, it's great, but they're not read in Icelandic. English is a virus. English, it's a virus, ha! And I worry if we don't wake up and realize this, we might maybe not lose all our language, but we might lose very valuable parts of it. And that's what I fear. Last year I published a book, and it's called Óorð. Óorð basically means bad word. I had for many, many years collected words in Icelandic that annoy me. One of the words in Icelandic that I like the least is, for example, the word afmæli, which means is Icelandic for birthday. Afmæli means to measure off. We have in Old Norse birthday. People used to say in Old Icelandic fæðingardagur, which means the day that you were born, and I think it's beautiful. Afmæli probably comes from the church, that you shouldn't be happy and celebrate your birthday. You should think about your sins and be aware that now we have measured 1 year. You have one less year to live. And then there are new Icelandic words that are invented instead of adapting like a universally used word, usually aligned with English. I think it's especially dangerous in terms of nationalities race. This is a way of thinking that is doomed to fail sooner or later. And it has now with Black Lives Matter. How on earth are they going to translate that into proper Icelandic? They can't. They just committee meeting after committee meeting, like any suggestions for Black Lives Matter? Önstrir kvámu úr því liði, öflugir og ástgir æsir að húsi. Fundu á landi lítt megandi, ask og emblu örlagalausa. When ecstasy started coming, the drug ecstasy started coming to Iceland and was gaining popularity among young people, there was a meeting of the language people, and there was a call for a meeting. Yeah, we have to find a new word for this popular drug. They came up with the word alsæla, which means total happiness. So it's the total happiness drug, and all the dealers were cheering in the streets because it's now so much easier to sell. And I tried, and I think I was successful in publicly executing this word because it's ridiculous. And that's one problem with coming up with new words. When you think you can have the responsibility to come up with new words, you have to be qualified, and some of them simply aren't. Ek man jötna árum borna, þá forðu mig fædda höfðu. During COVID times, I used the opportunity to go back to school, and I took a master's degree in performing arts. I chose Völuspá as my graduation project, as my final project. I just became absolutely obsessed with it, and it put me in some sort of a meditative state. I feel this deep connection to older generations in a strange, unexplainable way. Yeah.